Having a time machine sounds like a lot of responsibility. Even though there are definitely some small choices I've made I wouldn't mind editing. Like that time in middle school where I thought curtain bangs were something I should try. Let's just say I'm glad hair grows. But then we'd have to deal with all the ins and outs of breaking time and physics. It's probably best to leave time travel to the science fiction experts. What is available to us is reflection, the chance to look at our lives, choices, and work and think about how what we learned or how we behave differently given the chance. Even though I can't go back and stop myself from getting bangs, I can use that knowledge and the cringy photos to influence my future haircuts. Writing a reflective essay is one way to take serious time to think about an important moment or experience. Hopefully, we come out of it with insights so valuable that we won't need a time machine. Hi, I'm Dr. Emily Zarka, and this is Study Hall Rhetoric and Composition. Throughout this series, we've included writing practice episodes where we dive deeper into how to create and develop a particular kind of writing. In each one, we talk through everything that's expected in the genre and how to think about all the important factors from the audience to the purpose to typical features. Today, we're exploring reflective essays because they're often assigned in courses, but we can also put them to use in work and our personal lives. They help us make sense of our experiences and share meaningful connections with others. In this study hall course, we define a reflective essay as a text that's making a point about the writer's own experiences or journey to a particular audience, using both evidence and commentary on that evidence to make their point. Let's break that down a little. That last part of the definition is actually the most important for understanding what makes a reflective essay different from a diary entry or any other type of personal writing. So that's where we'll start. The key is that reflection isn't just a list of accomplishments or activities. We have to analyze them and make a point. To get a better feel for what this means, let's look at an example of how a journal entry can be turned into a reflective essay. Ben has been working in a startup incubator, which is like a camp where entrepreneurs learn new business lessons and work with mentors on the businesses they want to launch. He's been making his first cell phone game app, and he's certain that Grumpy Gophers is the next big thing in mobile gaming. For part of his final review, he's writing a 2-page reflective essay to show the judges how much progress he's made. This essay will help him make the case that he deserves some seed funding for his business, one of the prizes at the end of the incubator. When he shows his first draft to his mentor, Judith, she points out that it's just a list of everything he did with his time. She says, they don't just want to know what days you spent coding and what hours you spent doing marketing research. They want you to use those pieces of information to explain why this incubator was so valuable for your business. What did this time do for you that you couldn't do at home? To successfully write his reflective essay, Ben had to put into practice what we're calling the 2 E's of reflective essays, which are evidence and explanations. Evidence on its own, like I spent 4 hours doing market research for my phone game, is helpful, but until there is context and connection, it doesn't do much to make a point. But Ben might add, for past game ideas, I've done dozens of hours of research because I didn't have on-site mentorship and guidance. Here, Judith helped me use the most efficient research tools and save a lot of time. With this explanation, the evidence all of a sudden makes a point about how he's a much better entrepreneur and now his product is a more valuable investment opportunity. Including personal evidence and explaining it are essential to what makes a reflective essay useful and different from other types of writing. Now, let's dive into the other part of the definition. Ben isn't necessarily drawing on statistics or hard data, which a persuasive essay might do. We've talked about purpose and strategies for persuasive writing in other episodes, and we still use those. But reflective essays are subjective or open to individual interpretation because the evidence is our own lives. This goes back to the first part of the definition of a reflective essay that we're using. A reflective essay is a text that's making a point about the writer's own experiences or journey. Instead of pulling cold hard statistics, the main evidence in this case is Ben's lived experience. If he got something valuable out of the incubator and he attributes that breakthrough to this week's activities, that's enough. His job is just to make that connection clear. It can be tough to write reflectively if we're used to writing that mostly draws from other sources or data sets, not our own experiences. But here's a tip to overcome this mental hurdle. Our lives are like primary documents we're drawing on. And in the reflective essay, we're helping a particular audience understand something that has happened to us by providing the details and explanations they need to see our point of view. This also gets at the middle part of the definition about writing for a particular audience. A reflective essay is different from many of our writing practice genres because one of the primary audiences is, well, ourselves. We're supposed to be taking a clear-eyed look at our own experiences or actions and figuring out what they mean or what we learned. But we've also mentioned reflective writing many times in this course as a useful component of lots of different types of writing or as a useful technique for achieving a particular purpose. So especially with a reflective essay, we're also writing for an external audience. After all, we're making the effort to compose a formal essay instead of something less formal, like a note to self. Altogether, writing about ourselves for a particular audience using both evidence and explanations helps a reflective essay achieve its purpose. We might be reflecting on a new skill we're building so we can use it in the future, showing a teacher how much we learned from a class, or showing our boss how much we've accomplished for our yearly performance review. Realistically, a teacher is often our audience. So let's look more carefully at how we can make a reflective essay more useful for ourselves while giving our teachers everything they're wanting us to share. In another episode, we talk a lot about transfer of knowledge, or how we apply what we learn in one place to a new place. Reflection is a big part of how we create those moments of transfer on purpose. If we're taking a rhetoric and composition course and we learn a bunch of great strategies for editing our papers, we might use those tools and techniques in the future. Or we might let them go and fall into past habits of drafting in a panic at 3 a.m. without using the writing process. But if our teacher specifically assigns a reflective essay to answer the question, what are the most useful techniques you've learned in this class and how will you use them in the future? We're forced to think this through. Where will we use this in the future? We won't just write a laundry list of all the techniques that we learned this semester. That's recall, because we pulled all those learned techniques out of our brain storage. But it's not really reflection or application of the techniques. One way to brainstorm for such an assignment would be to look at our class schedule for the coming semester. We could even look up those courses online to see what kinds of writing happens in them. We might at first feel like there aren't easy threads between these classes, but asking ourselves the question at all starts us thinking through potential connections. We might end up using evidence of our experiences in the class to defend a thesis statement like, in the future, I'll use editing techniques like reading backwards and reading out loud to improve my coding projects in my computer science courses. And I'll use what I've learned about paraphrasing and quoting sources well to write for world history class. The rest of the paper would pull on our experience of how useful those techniques were, our understanding of the writing challenges in future courses, and even how we saw our own writing improve as a result of trying tools from the writing class. All that evidence helps explain why we'd use those techniques, which makes the takeaway much stronger. Just because we write to a teacher's goals and assign questions doesn't mean that's the only kind of reflective essay, though. Reflective essays come in lots of shapes. Sometimes they have a lot of evidence, like in a memoir, where someone might be telling their life story for 90% of the time and only reflecting on their experiences for 10% of the space of the book. Other times, a reflective essay answer to a question on a job application might only be a few sentences long. We can answer what we learned from overcoming an obstacle in a past job or reflect on the role we typically play in group projects or team-based work. In each kind of reflective writing, we're using similar analytical skills to look at evidence and ask, what does this mean? What is it teaching me? Was it done well or poorly? What would I do differently given the chance? These reflection skills prime us to offer the most useful evidence and tie it together with meaningful explanations, which is the heart of a reflective essay. Many hard moments in life, from a bad first day at an internship to a misstep while trying to make new friends, cycle through our heads unproductively. We just dwell, thinking about the facts of them. We can choose to make meaning out of even cringy moments that make us daydream about that time machine. There's some peace that comes from turning all those deeply rehashed thoughts into a plan or lesson for the future, be it won't wear flip-flops to work if the dress code is formal, or will double-check the meanings of words I don't know well in Spanish before I make jokes. These moments of reflection are inward, but turning our reflection outward in an essay or otherwise brings benefits. Though it won't always work out, our new Spanish-speaking friends or our new bosses may appreciate knowing that we've thought about what we did and are planning a different approach for next time. Reflective essays are useful ways to communicate with teachers and other audiences, but they also help us document and process experiences that matter to us personally. It's hard to remember our best accomplishments in each year-end review, But it gets easier if we take notes after big projects wrap up about why they were so successful or how we contributed so well to the end result. The cool part about writing reflectively is that the very act of writing about it can prompt new thoughts. We get wiser just by taking the time to try to reflect. We don't have to wait for a visit from our future selves warning us not to make a mistake. We can shape our future on our own from lessons we're discovering all the time. Thanks for watching Study Hall Rhetoric and Composition, which is part of the Study Hall Project, a partnership between ASU and Crash Course. If you like this video and want to keep learning with us, be sure to subscribe. You can learn more about Study Hall and the videos produced by Crash Course and ASU in the links in the description.